to invite the first speaker for today. So Jonas completed a BSc in Material Science and Engineering at the University of Ghana, and he proceeded to the University of Oxford to pursue MSc in Water Science and Policy and Management. He has 2 years of teaching experience in Quantitative Section of SAT, GRE, GMAT at Perfect Score Institute. So without much ado, we are going to go straight into that. Hi, Jonas. Jonas, you're on mute.
Hello, Lois.
How
Good
are
evening.
you doing? Good evening, and how are you doing, Jonas?
I'm fine, and you?
Not bad at all. So over to you. Today, the talk is over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, my listeners, my followers. I'll be taking you through the preparation for IELTS and GRE, and let's commence. It seems I don't have control. Okay. Okay, so basically, as Lois said, I've tutored at I was in fact I was a student at Perfect Score Institute where I took my GRE exams, and after taking my GRE exams, I excelled with 160 verbal and then 160 quant with 4 analytical writing, and I became a tutor at Perfect Score Institute. And basically, I'm only interested in quant. That's where that's my stronghold. So basically, I tutor I actually teach ACT math, GRE math, and then the GMAT, the quantitative section. So I'll be taking you through the GRE, and then I'll take you through IELTS because I've had an experience in writing the IELTS exams, the IELTS exams. Okay, so Lois. Hello, Lois.
Hi, Jonas. Are you okay with the remote control?
No.
Okay, I might just roll it down
Okay.
for you then.
Okay.
Okay,
so one will ask, what's the difference between IELTS and GRE? So basically, for IELTS, because we are dealing with, you guys are normally going to apply for a master's program or a PhD program. I'm actually looking at the IELTS academic. We have both the IELTS general, and then we have the IELTS academic, but we are looking at the IELTS academic. So basically, IELTS is an English proficiency exams. What it basically tests your listening skills, your reading skills, your writing skills, and then your speaking skills, because you're actually going to be in an academic discourse community where lectures will take place. So you will have to listen to the lecturer when he or she is talking. So definitely you need listening skills. Can you jot down certain points when the lecturer is speaking? We want to actually test that. We want you to take these exams to serve as some sort of a proof. Definitely in the when you are so in your master's program or in your PhD program, you'll definitely be reading articles or you'll be reading textbooks and stuff. Can you actually comprehend what's written in the books? We want to test that skill. Can you actually write ACs when they give you an assignment? Can you actually deliver? We actually want to test your writing skills and then your speaking skills. So basically, that's what IELTS assesses. So basically, if you are, so it's actually meant for non-native speakers. So students coming from, let's say, countries like China, Japan, they don't really speak English. So you need to actually take these exams to prove your basic skills in English. Okay, and then what is GRE exams? GRE exams is basically an aptitude test. An aptitude test. So basically, we actually want to test your basic skills in English, your basic skills in maths. It's basically, let me see, a reasoning test. Let me see. So in the GRE, it actually measures your analytical writing skills, your verbal reasoning skills, your quantitative reasoning skills. That's actually your maths, and then your critical thinking skills. How well do you think through issues? Okay, so GRE. So let's start with the GRE. So what does GRE stands for? The GRE stands for Graduate Record Examination. So as I said, it's an aptitude test. It's a multiple choice test. that's conducted by the Education Testing Service. What do I mean by standard multiple choice test? What I mean by that is that they'll give you possible answers A, B, C, D, and then you choose which answer best fits the question being given. So the GRE has 3 sections. We have the analytical writing section. The analytical writing section is made up of 2 tasks. We have the issue AC and then we have the argument AC. Each AC, you are given 30 minutes, and that's the time duration. And then we also have the quantitative reasoning section. The quantitative reasoning section consists, it consists of 20, so a set, let's say if you're taking the test, so a quantitative reasoning section, a test, you have 2 tasks. So task 1 will take 20 questions, and within 20 questions, you have 35 minutes to answer those questions. And then for the verbal, and that applies also to the verbal reasoning questions. Okay, so what do we actually do in the analytical writing section? So the analytical writing section basically tries to measure your critical thinking skills. How can you assess a claim? How do you assess a claim that an author posits, or how do you assess the evidence that let me say an author gives? So basically, as I said, we have 2 tasks in the analytical writing section. We analyze an issue and we analyze an argument. So for the issue AC, within this section, an author makes a claim, okay, and then your task is to think critically about what the author has said, and then you'll be given a specific instruction. You just have to follow that specific instruction, and then write your AC according to that specific instruction given. And then all that you're supposed to do is to express your thoughts in a compelling way. What do I mean by compelling? You give relevant reasoning and then relevant examples. Okay, and then in an argument AC, the author will just make some sort of an argument. So for example, let's say Messi scores a lot of goals. Messi has won a lot of trophies. So therefore, Messi is the best player in the world. So an author will make an argument like that. And then what you're supposed to do is to assess the claims made by the author. Okay, and then you assess the logic reasoning made by the author. And then you'll be given a specific instruction, and then you just have to respond to that instruction. So you just look at the logical soundness that the author makes within the claim. So an example of an issue AC is what you can see on your screen. So for example, as people rely more and more on technology to solve problems, let me decrease this. Okay, so as people rely more and more on technology to solve problems, the ability of humans to think for themselves will surely deteriorate. So now the prompt says, discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the statement and explain your reasoning for the position you take. In developing and supporting your position, you should consider ways in which the statement might or might not hold true, and explain how these considerations shape your position. So let me give you 2 minutes. Basically, let me say 2 minutes for you guys to actually read this issue essay, and then make some points for yourself, and then I'll take it from there. Set timer. Okay, yeah, let's wait a minute. Okay, I think it's time. Okay, so as I said, with an issue EC, okay, the author actually makes a claim, okay, and then what you're supposed to do is to read the specific. There are lots of prompts, okay, for the issue with the issue EC. There are lots of prompts, and then I think there are about 8 prompts, and on the D day, okay, you'll be given one of the prompts. So the questions are actually there are let me say a pool of issue EC questions which are actually available online. I think the link is below the slides over there, so you could actually go there and then check that up for yourself. Okay, so there's a claim here by the author. The author says that as people rely more and more on technology to solve problems, okay, the ability of humans to think for themselves will surely deteriorate. So now the text says discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the statement. So the extent to which you agree or disagree with the statement. So some of you would, by the way, there's no right or wrong answer. All right. So some of you might say you strongly agree to the author's assertion or the author's claim, and some of you might strongly disagree with the author's claim, which is fine. Some of you might be partial. Okay. You partially agree or you partially disagree, which is okay. But it says what explain your reason for your position you take for the position you take. So if you take a stand, okay, you need to explain that with what compelling what reason, okay, and then you need to give examples, okay, and then it says that what you should consider ways in which the statement might or might not hold true, okay, and explain how this consideration shape your position. So as I said, GRE is basically an aptitude test. Okay, it requires a lot of critical thinking skills. Okay, so for example, okay, the ability of humans to think for themselves will so this statement here, the ability of humans to think for themselves will surely deteriorate. Okay, what do we mean by that? The ability of humans to think for themselves, what kind of statement, because I can draw a lot of meaning from this statement. Okay, the ability of humans to think for themselves. What kind of thinking are we looking at? Are we looking at simple problem solving skills, or we are looking at complex um, problem solving skills? Are we also looking at social intelligence, or are we looking at emotional intelligence? There are a lot of let me see questions that one can ask. Okay, let me see within this statement over here. So for example, we have the use of calculators, okay, and normally in my class when I'm tutoring my students, simple questions like, let me see, 5 multiplied by 3, some of them will actually have to take their calculators and then key in that to give them an answer. So I could say that yes, the ability for humans to think for themselves is actually deteriorating. But if you also look at definitely, if you want so technology such as, let me see, GIS mapping, okay, definitely if you want an information which you can't actually as a human you can't actually predict that information, you need technology to actually what uh, uh, um, um, you need to use that you need to use this kinds of technology to actually what get information or get whatever kind of additional information that you need. So definitely, I partially do agree with this claim. So definitely, you definitely have to argue your point out, and then you have to give what a compelling reason and a compelling example. So then let's look at an example of an argument EC. So okay, so in surveys, Mason City residents rank water sports into brackets swimming, boating, and fishing among their favorite recreational activities. The Mason River flowing through the city is rarely used for these pursuits. However, the city park department devotes little of its budget to maintaining riverside recreational activities. For years, there have been complaints from residents about the quality of the river's water and the river's smell. In response, the state has recently announced plans to clean up the Mason River. Use of the river for sporting activities is therefore sure to increase. The city, the city government should, for that reason, devote more money in its year's budget to riverside recreational activities. Write a response. So the prompt says write a response in which you examine the stated and or unstated assumptions of the argument. Be sure to explain how the argument depends on the assumption and what implications are if the assumptions prove unwarranted. So basically, as I said, an argument AC basically. What happens? So within this type of ACs, you have claims. The author makes certain claims, and then based on or provides, let me see, evidences, and based on this evidence, the author makes a final conclusion. Okay, so let me give you about, let me say, 2 minutes to actually read the AC, and then let's analyze it. A minute more. Okay, so now let's analyze the argument AC. So basically, as I said, for example, okay, so with this AC, the author makes certain claims, okay, by saying that, okay, so in the survey, okay, Mason City residents rank water sports, that's the swimming, boating, and fishing among their favorite recreation, recreational activities. All right, so that's a claim. Okay, so that's what there have been a survey. All right. Now, the next statement also says that the Mason River flowing through the city is rarely used for these pursuits. However, the city park department devotes little of its budget to maintaining the riverside recreational facilities. For years, there have been claims. Okay, sorry, there have been complaints from residents about the quality of the river, or the river's quality, and then the smell. So in response, the state has recently announced plans to clean up the river, all right, and then actually use this river for sports, okay. And therefore, when we are able to devote more money, so if the government devotes more money, or more budget, or more money into the budget, okay, to clean up all this kind of, let me see, the smell and everything, definitely we expect that there will be an increase. Okay. So the city government should, for that reason, devote more money in this year's budget to the riverside recreational activities. So therefore, the question says, what the prompt says was, write a response in which you examine stated or unstated assumptions in the argument. So let's look at the stated assumptions. Okay. So first of all, this argument over here has lot of flaws. Okay, let's look at the logical soundness of this argument being posited by the author. So first of all, the author assumes that, okay, so in a survey, Mason City residents rank water sports among their favorite residential activities. So right now, I can say that the author who conducted this survey, okay, assumes that the people in this residence, okay, actually participate in sporting activities. That's my first assumption that I can make, and that and another assumption that I could also make, okay, let me take simple assumptions that I could make. Another assumptions that I can also say is that for years, okay, so let's look at this statement. For years, there have been complaints from residents about the quality of the river's water and the river smell. So in response, the states should actually clean up the river. So I could make, there's also an assumption that, okay, if they clean up the river, okay, we are going to have more revenues. That means we have people who can come come there and then use this kind of facilities, and then what will happen is that revenues will be generated. All right. So definitely, these are some of the assumptions that you can actually make from this argument. So you can make, there are a whole lot of let me see, assumptions that you can actually make from this. That are stated or unstated from this, and definitely the author is trying to say that if you put more money, okay, into the budget this year to clean up the river, definitely will make more money. All right. So there are lots of, let me see, flaws in this EC. Definitely, we also, I don't know how to put this. Okay, so now there's also another survey, okay, that's being made by the author. The author also assumes, okay, I think I've already said that. So first of all, I can make an assumption that the author, the kind of survey that the author did, the author assumes that these people over there, okay, these people over there are actually the residents or the people living in these areas actually participate in this kind of sports. Okay, that's the first assumption, and definitely, so if they devote more money into it, we are going to see more people going to this river to participate in sports. Okay, another assumption that I can also make is that the author states that if they actually clean up the river, okay, the river is actually going to generate a lot of revenue. Okay, and if it generates a lot of revenue, they'll actually make profit out of it, and definitely they should put more money into it to actually clean up the river. So I've given you two assumptions that is being made by the author. Okay, so it depends on the kind of prompt that you be given. Some prompts will tell you that you should actually how can you strengthen the argument? Okay, how can you strengthen the argument, or how can you weaken the argument? So let's say, for example, to strengthen this argument, first of all, I could ask myself that, okay, what kind of surveys did the author, how did the author conduct the survey? What kind of formula did the author, what kind of methodology, sorry, did the author use to conduct that kind of survey? Okay, And then so so therefore the author can strengthen his argument by let's say using a specific methodology, or informing us of what the specific methodology that he or she used to conduct the survey. Okay, so there are a lot of you need to think through the AC and make a lot of assumption. Depends on the prompt. You either make a statement, a stated assumption or unstated assumption, or you might be told to what kind of let's say information can the author add to, let's say, the AC to actually strengthen or weaken the argument. All right. So this is all about argumentative AC. Okay, so let's go. So for verbal reasoning, within the verbal reasoning section, we have it consists of basically 3 sections. We have the reading comprehension. Reading comprehension basically means you actually be given a passage, you read the passage. Comprehend means to understand the passage. So when you read the passage, you understand the passage. Do you understand the passage? Yes or no? Definitely, you'll be given questions based on the passage, and then you are made to answer or give response to the questions being asked by ETS. Okay, so we also have test completion. Test completion basically is you'll be given let me see sentences or let me see statements, and then there'll be blanks within the statement, and then you actually look for let me see suitable words, okay, to fill in those blanks. And then sentence completion, or sorry, sentence equivalence simply means so equivalence means similar, right? Similar. So sentence equivalence simply means you'll be given a sentence or a statement will be made, okay, and then there will be a blank over there, and then you'll be told to look for 2 suitable words that best fits the statement, right? So basically, for this, okay, so I forgot to mention this. So for the analytical writing, you are being scored from 0 to 6. Okay, that's the score scale from 0 to 6 with 0.5 increments. And then for the verbal reasoning, we it's the score scale is from 130 to 170. Okay, with 1 point increment. So each question you get correct or right, you'll be given an sharp point. So let's say in case you have 0, okay, 0 is actually 130, and then when you get a question correct, 1 mark will be added to it. So it goes on and on like that. Okay, so so as I said, for the reading comprehension, you actually read and analyze the passage, and your main task is to what? As you read the passage, you have to distinguish which of the statement being made by the author is a supporting idea, or let me say, or it's a main idea, or it's a main evidence. Okay, and you need to distinguish the ideas that the author is advancing from. Okay, so definitely the author might be reporting something. Okay, definitely he's going to make certain, or he's going to state certain, he's going to make certain statements. Which of them do you think is the main point, and which of them do you think is a supporting point that the author is trying to make? Okay, then what you're supposed to do is that you be given a question, and then you would answer the question based on the information given in the passage. Okay, you shouldn't bring any outside knowledge. So, for example, maybe the author might be discussing something, and then the author might say that let's see, we get vitamin D from orange. All right, you shouldn't bring any outside knowledge. Yeah, we all know that we get vitamin C from orange. All right, but you shouldn't bring that knowledge over there. Just read the passage and what information is being provided in the passage. You would actually give a response to it. You actually select a possible answer that best fits the question. All right. So one thing about the reading comprehension passages is that with the possible answers, we have there's only one right answer. Okay, it depends on the prompt, right? It depends on the question. If the question says select 2 best, or which of the following best fits describes the whatever, or the statement or something, then you select 2. But basically, in case you are being told to select an answer choice, all right, what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to read all the possible answers fully, okay, and then definitely there's only one right answer. But what ETS does that they actually they give some kind of partial answers. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is look for a complete answer to the question being asked. All right, so that's all about reading comprehension. for test completion, as I said, it's going to be in the form of, let me see, a passage. Or what it means is that there will be about 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 sentences with missing blanks. Okay, so what you do is that you fill in the missing blanks. Okay, that's all to sentence completion. And then for sentence, okay, next slide. Okay, so so for sentence equivalence, so you'll be given a single sentence, or you can be given let me see, 2 sentences. There will be a missing blank. Okay, and then what you do is that you would select 2 best, okay, or 2 similar. Let me see, you select 2 answer choices. Okay, that best fits, that best fits the sentence. All right. So there's no partial. So there's no partial credits. Okay. Or any partial correct answers. That means that when you get, let's say, when one answer is correct and the other answer is wrong, they are both wrong. Okay, you need to get the 2 answer choices right to get a point. Okay, next. So an example of sentence equivalences. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, the question says that select 2 answer choices that, when used to complete the sentence, fit the meaning of the sentence as a whole, and produce complete sentences that are alike in meaning. All right. So we are supposed to select 2 answer choice. Okay. So this is a statement. Although so I think they're supposed to be common. Okay. So although it does contain some pioneering ideas, one would hardly characterize the work as dash. Okay. So with sentence equivalence, there are a lot of strategies that goes into it. First of all, we have something we call transition words. Okay. Transition words. That means that they actually, let me see, they actually switch the sentence from positive to negative, or from negative to positive. So we have transitional words like but, although, yet. There are a lot of them. Okay, so what you basically do is to read the statements, okay, and then look for 2 answer choice that best fits. So with this one, when you read the statement, so also you basically, okay, so what I do here is that I take my time to read the statement. Okay, I don't just read. Although it does contain some pioneering ideas, one would hardly characterize a work as dash. Then you just start looking for the possible answers. I take my time. So although it does contain some pioneering ideas, oh okay, one would hardly characterize the work as. Then you take, so you would actually put in your own answer, or you find a suitable answer to this. Okay, so although it does contain some pioneering ideas, oh that's nice. Okay, one would hardly characterize the work as, okay, I think one would hardly characterize the work as something new. All right, something new. That's to me. That's how I'll put it. So I'll then come to the possible answer choices, and then I'll just look for something that's similar to new. Okay, so I forgot to state. I forgot to state that when it comes to verbal reasoning, all what for you to excel in this section, it's your vocabulary, okay? And one of the one who asks, how many words am I supposed to learn? There are a lot of words you can't learn all, but all what you're supposed to focus on is the highly frequently used words in GRE. So the best app for you to use is Magoosh. Magoosh has basically let me see, the frequently used words in GRE. So when you download the Magoosh app, you definitely have the words. It has basic. It's a long time I used the app, but I think I can remember basic. Is it intermediate or something? And something. So it has, let me see, a group of words that helps you to study the words and then their meaning. So as I said, the possible, for me, I think the answer here should be new. Okay. So then you then go to your possible answer choices. So orthodox. What's the meaning of orthodox? You look, you check up, you check up that in your dictionary. So let's say you are studying at the moment. You see the word orthodox. You don't know the meaning. You check it up in the dictionary. Then you write the meaning down. Then every day you try to recite the words and then the meaning. As you're doing that, you are learning. So eccentric, what's the meaning? Original, okay. We have trifling, we have conventional, and we have innovative. So the 2 best answers to pick from here is what is original and innovative, because they are synonymous, or they are similar to new. Okay, so those would be my two best answer choices I would pick for this sentence equivalent. So with sentence equivalence, you are only looking for two words that best fit the sentence. Okay. So next slide. Okay, so quantitative section. Okay, so basically this is what I actually teach at Perfect Score. I help handle the quantitative section. So basically, when we are looking at the quantitative section, it's basically deals with your basic math skills. Okay, so basic concepts in maths. Okay, your ability to reason. Okay, when you see a math problem, how do you tackle the problem? How do you solve the problem? But remember, I told you that GRE is basically an aptitude test. Okay, so we are trying to see how well you reason or how well you think through a question. All right. Now remember, with the you are being timed. Okay, for each section, you are being timed 20 minutes. 35 for the quant section. You are timed 35 minutes to answer 20 questions. All right, and basically the math topics that we deal with in the GRE is arithmetic. With is arithmetic, algebra, geometry, data analysis. So what do you mean? So for arithmetic, we are basically looking at your numbers. Okay, numbers. So even numbers, odd numbers, prime numbers. We are looking at something like factorization. And a whole lot. All right. For the for algebra, we are looking at algebraic expressions. We'll be looking at something like functions. We'll be looking at inequalities and a whole lot. All right. And then for geometry, we are looking at your shapes. So we look at triangles. You know, with triangles, we have different types of triangles. We have the isosceles, we have the equilateral, we have the scaling. You should know all their properties. All right, and then we also have the right triangle. You know, within the right triangle too, we have different types. We have the 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. We have also the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. So basically, you should know your properties when it comes to quadrilateral geometry. So you should know the quadrilaterals. You should know the properties, their properties, before you be able to solve a question. Okay, and we also have data analysis. Data analysis, basically, you just be given the data. It can be in the form of, let me say, a pie chart, bar graph. It can be in the form of a table, okay? And then all what you're supposed to do is to analyze the data or analyze the graph, and then you begin the question. Just answer the question, right? Okay. So, so an example of, okay, so within, okay, so sorry. So for the quantitative section, we have 4 types of questions that you might be asked. So as soon as you begin a test, we'll start with quantitative comparison section. Okay, so what you are basically going to do is that you'll be given 2 quantities to compare, quantity A and quantity B. Okay, so your task is to logically think through the question, okay, and then provide an answer to that. Whether maybe this quantity, maybe quantity A is greater than quantity B, or quantity B is greater than quantity A, or both quantities are equal, or maybe from the information given, you can't actually determine the answer. All right. And then for multiple choice questions, we also have the a single answer choice. And that means that you'll be given a question, okay, and then you select just an answer. All right. We have, and now the other ones we also have is a the same thing, the multiple choice questions. That's you either select an answer, 2 or 3 or more of them. Okay, and then we have the numeric entry questions, and that means that you'll be given let's say a box, okay, and then you'll be told to calculate, and then you insert your answer, and you answer into the box. So that's the numeric entry questions. So an example of a quantitative reasoning question is I took the simplest one. So okay, now before that, okay, in GRE, the GRE section, okay, it's computer adaptive. Okay, what I mean by that is that we have harder sets of questions. Okay, we have easier questions, so hard questions, easy questions, and then we have medium questions. All right, so the moment you start a test, okay, you start with analytical writing. Okay, so with your analytical writing, you perform the two tasks. So the first task you do is the issue AC, and then you move on to the analytical argumentative AC. Then after the argument argument AC, then you then move to one of these tasks. So you either start with a verbal reasoning task or you start with a quantitative reasoning task. You don't know. So if you start with a quantitative reasoning task, all right, that means that the next section you're going to do will be a verbal, and then the next section will be a quantitative, and the next section will be a verbal. When you start with a verbal task, the next section is going to be a quantitative section, and then the next will be a verbal, the next will be a quantitative section. Okay, so now what I mean by quantitative adaptive is that now when you start the test, okay, you'll be given, let's say when you start the test, let's say you start with medium questions. Okay, when you are done solving the medium questions and then you get a certain mark, okay, the computer would analyze, okay, is this guy, did he perform well or he performed poorly? If you perform poorly, you'll be then given your next set of questions will be the easy set. Okay, but if you perform extremely well, the next set will be a very difficult set. All right, so that's what I mean by computer adaptive. Okay, so now let's look at this quantitative comparison question. So remember I told you GRE is an aptitude test. You need a lot of critical thinking skills to be able to accomplish or to be able to excel in this kind of task. So let's look at the preamble. We have it states that Leon is younger than Maria. Okay, then quantity A says states that twice Leon's age, and then quantity B also states that Maria's age. Okay, so now we weren't told or we weren't given their ages, all right? But the possible answer choices that we see here is A, quantity A is greater than, quantity A is greater. B, quantity B is greater. C, the two quantities are equal. D, the relationship, okay, it cannot be determined. Okay, that's D. There's something blocking my screen, so I can't see that. So now what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to select an answer choice, all right? So what you do is you think critically through the question and then you compare the two quantities. So I can start my assumption by, because I wasn't told what my Maria's age is. I can say that, okay, if Maria is 1 is a year old, then Leon will be what twice the age of Leon is younger than Maria. Okay, now quantity A says that twice Leon's age, and then quantity B states what Maria's age. So let's say if Maria Maria is 2 years old, okay, then if Leon is younger than Maria, then I can assume that Leon is a year old. So quantity A says twice Leon's age. Definitely, then Leon will be then 2 years old. So therefore, I can say that the two quantities are equal. But remember that I did guess Maria's age. Okay, so now if I say that Maria is, let me say, 10 years old, then definitely Leon is younger than Maria. Then definitely I can say that I can assume that Leon is let me say 9 years old. Then definitely twice Leon's age will be what 9 times 2 is what 18. Then therefore quantity A becomes greater. Do you get it? And then if I still assume that Maria is 10 years old and Leon is younger than Maria, then I can assume that Leon is, let me see, a year old. And if Leon is a year old, quantity A says what twice Lionel's age. Okay, Lionel's age. So twice Lionel's age will give you what 2, right? So therefore we can say that what quantity B is what greater than quantity A. All right. So when you compare these quantities, you can't specifically give an answer, right? Therefore, the relationship cannot be determined from the given information. That would be my answer choice would be what would be D. So imagine if the prompt states that okay, Leon is younger than Maria, and then let's say Maria is okay. Let's say Leon is 2 years old, and Maria is 3 years old. Okay, let's say quantity A, Leon is 2 years old, and then quantity B, Maria is 3 years old. Definitely, my answer will be what quantity B is greater than quantity A, right? So it depends on the task you are given. That's why it's called quantitative comparison. You compare the two tasks, and then you think critically through the task being given, then you select an answer. Okay, the next, so select one answer choice. So basically we're given a question, okay? So for example, if X, so what's the value of, sorry, I made a typo. What's the value of 5x plus, so what's the value of X? Okay, no, so what's the value of 5x plus 23 is equal to 4 minus 2x. What's the value of X? Okay, sorry, so let's say given that 5x plus 32 is equal to 4 minus 2x, what's the value of X? Okay, so yeah, so this is a single choice task. So you just solve for the value of X and then you pick one, all right, from the possible answers. Okay, then next, and then we have other questions that would prompt you to select or indicate more answers to the task being given. So which of the following integers okay, so which of the following integers are multiples of both 2 and 3? Indicate all such integers. So the question is basically asking you that between among all these numbers here, right, which of them is a multiple of 2 and also a multiple of 3? So your task is to ask yourself, is 8 a multiple of 2 and 3? If yes, you select it. If no, you don't select it. All right. So basically, so example, you know that 8 is divisible by 2, but it's not divisible by 3, right? So you leave it out. 9 is only divisible by 3, but not divisible by 2, right? So you leave it out. You know, C, 12 years is divisible by 2, okay, and it's also divisible by 3. You check 18, is 18 divisible by 2? And is it also divisible by 3? Yes, you leave it. You look at 21 divisible by 2. No. Is it divisible by 3? Yes, so it's not part of it. And then 36, is it divisible by 2? Yes. Is it also divisible by 3? Yes. So you know, you need to think critically through or think logically through this kind of questions, and then you select an answer. Okay, so that's what you mean by the multiple choice. And then what do you mean by numeric entry question? Numeric entry question basically means that you'll be given a box, okay, and then this time around you will not select a possible you not select an answer, you just key in an answer with your keyboard. So for example, one pen costs $0.25 and one marker costs $0.35. At those prices, what is the total cost of 18 pens and 100 markers? You solve this question and then you just put an answer in there. You click the box and then you just type an answer in there. So basically, that's what you mean by numeric entry question. Next. So what do you mean by data analysis? So with data analysis, what you do is that you'll be given the data, okay? So it can be in the form of a table, it can be in the form of a graph, a bar graph, a pie chart. So what you're supposed to do is to analyze the graph, okay? You look at the legends, okay? I can see that there is female here. This represents female, and then this represents male. And so you will look at it. You also have at the other side, you also have the fields of, let me see, studies. I can see biological sciences. I can see business. I can see education. So you look at that, and then you also read the question. All right. So the question says, sorry, I see the question. You read the title of the graph, or the title being displayed over there. So we have percent of female faculty and percent of female faculty at University X by field. Okay, so it says that the total number of females in the faculty is 200, the total number of males in the faculty is 250. So you do all this kind of analysis. You just read the title, analyze the graph, and then you look at the legend, the keys in the graph, and then you then read the question. The question says that approximate what percentage of faculty in humanity are males. So you then read the question, then you assess the graph, you do your simple calculations, and then you select an answer. So that's all what we mean by data analysis and data interpretation. All right. So the books I recommend for GRE is let me see, the key book. Okay, the key book is the ETS. Okay, the one given by ETS, the official guide to GRE. That's the key. and because it gives you real, let me say, realistic questions. Okay, realistic questions. The rest of the books, there are examiners that actually wrote or produced those books, so they set their own, let me say, questions for students. Okay, but for the official guide is the actual, or let me say, the real. They give you realistic questions. Okay, so for quant section, I'll recommend Manhattan, and then yes, for yeah, Manhattan, I recommend Manhattan. And then for, I think, the verbal sections, I don't really like the verbal section in Manhattan, but even though it's good, it's tough. But I recommend Kaplan and Barron. Yeah, so you can use any book to prepare, but the most important book for you to use is the official GRE guide. Okay. Then, okay, some people dream of accomplishing great things, others stay awake to make it happen. Truth be told, the GRE is tough. Okay, it's not that easy. Okay, if when you prepare, okay, when you really prepare, it becomes easier.